Continuing coverage on ice storm recovery as we turn our attention to storm victims and their financial losses. And joining us now with more on how you can help yourself is Larry Roby, who's president of SFA Wealth Management in Murfreesboro. Larry, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yes, sir.
You know, a lot of people suffered losses, whether it be damage to their home, their cars, trees, stuff like that. What is your advice? What can you share to help people minimize those losses?
Yeah, well, the first thing is, again, they just need to make sure they have a good a list of what those losses are. Go ahead and take some inventory if they've had any home losses or, certainly personal property, car losses. Make sure you write those down and, prepare that list and prepare to maybe take pictures or video of that and contact your insurance agent as quickly as you can.
Now, some people could be eligible for state and federal disaster assistance depending on, how big the designation is. How do you know and how do you plug in and see if there's anything in that realm that might be able to help a person?
There is a great number to call. You can call 211 and ask for some assistance on that and to ask those questions for the Nashville area. And so, and basically, Bill will let you know. But, FEMA did declare it a disaster, but, there's an emergency declaration, but they're trying to get it upgraded. Right now, they'll just help clean the debris up and maybe help you with emergency shelter and food. But if it gets upgraded, then they may even help with some home repairs and maybe some appliances or those kind of things. So, again, calling that 211 and kind of keeping your eyes and ears on the news a little bit would be helpful at this point.
Sure, and in some cases that's free money, to your point, no reason not to take advantage. A lot of people lost wages, people were shut down, that sort of thing, and in many cases that would impact your ability to pay the bills unless you're on salary. In your experience, will creditors work with people in an event like this?
Absolutely. Obviously we're going to prioritize the spending, your rent or your mortgage, those things, obviously food, shelter, you got to take care of that. But if you call the creditors, anybody in this area and even people that's not here have heard about Nashville getting hit pretty hard and losing power, that kind of thing. So the creditors very much will work with you if you give them a call in advance and know that you're trying to work with them.
I've always heard financial advisors say, and Dave Ramsey always says it, you need to have an emergency fund. I suspect this is one of the reasons when things unexpected come up and you need money. What do you recommend in that regard?
I've always believed that. I do agree with Dave there, is that you need 3 to 6 months worth of emergency savings, or at least a place to get to that. Now, there are some high yield savings you can get to still. With the day of technology, you can have it in a brokerage type account and still get it just, 48 hours to get to that. But absolutely, that 3 to 6 months worth of savings is, I still think, a very good idea.
Larry, one last thing before we break, and it kind of takes us back to where we started, those, unexpected expenses that people have and something that might get covered. I suspect documentation is key. Say pictures of all the receipts or take pictures of all the damage so you can prove it.
Absolutely. Take it. Also, keep yourself a copy for tax planning. For tax purposes, you may need that. And some of those receipts that you think may not be reimbursed by insurance may be. Kind of moving on as well, to prepare for the next storm that I wish we wouldn't have, but we know we're going to, is it's probably a good idea to maybe, after we get through this mess, go ahead, once you get everything put back together, videotape it or, take pictures. Make sure you have all your important documents, maybe in a waterproof, fireproof, fund in order to be able to pull that out, some kind of product to where it won't get water damage or fire damage. So again, prepare for the next storm by having all that put together.
This is good advice. Larry Roby, who's president of SFA Wealth Management in Murfreesboro. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.